But first, a Wall Street Journal poll about the Democratic Party, and that is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. So the Wall Street Journal surveyed 1,500 registered voters, and they found out that the Democratic Party gets the lowest approval rating in 35 years. Wow. Okay, so you're going back into the 1990s, I guess after Bill Clinton, or probably before Bill Clinton, but I don't know what year it was. But anyway, it's not a good situation for the Democrats. So let's get specific. First question, do you have a favorable or unfavorable opinion of the Democratic Party? Favorable 33, unfavorable 63. Wow. Now, this includes independents and Republicans, of course, but that's a big number. Favorable or unfavorable opinion, Republican Party. Favorable 43, unfavorable 54. Approve or disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing as president. Approve 46, disapprove 52. So it's a judgmental crowd here. Doesn't seem to be an ideological crowd in this Wall Street Journal poll. I think that's a fair assessment. Now, let's get to the reasons. The primary reason Democratic Party is having so much trouble is its lack of problem solving. This is not a conservative liberal situation. Yes, the far left dominates the party, and it has damaged the Democrats in a very profound way. No doubt about that. But it's a problem solving situation. So let's run it down. The biggest problem that we've had in this country after COVID is the open border. And that policy was instituted by President Biden with no dissent from the Democratic Party. It is costing the American taxpayer $182 billion every year to deal with this problem. $728 billion under Biden, 4 years. So we're going to get into the trillions, all right? 12 million people, that's a low estimate of how many crossed into the United States under Biden's look the other way policy, which he has never explained, by the way. And that's another big reason that Americans are not bullish on the Democratic Party. Biden never even told us why he was doing. All we heard was, no, the border is secure. Of course, it wasn't secure. And the amount of narcotics that poured in here was record-breaking. And we're seeing that every day in crime in the streets and drug overdoses. Secondly, the economy. So under Joe Biden, inflation hit an incredible 9%. It's down about 3% now, okay, 9%. Because Biden slapped regulations on the fossil fuel industry across the board that crippled supply lines, okay, made it much more expensive to get food and other items to the stores. And it drove prices up. You remember the ships backed up in the ports, that the grocery stores just ramming everything up, restaurants, all of that, because they couldn't get the supplies in. And that was because of all the regulations that the Biden administration put on trucking and gasoline and harvesting, and it's crazy. Then diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI. Americans don't want this. Every poll shows it. They don't want it. They do not want favoritism based on skin color. Okay, period. And they don't want trans men competing with women. And the Democratic Party embraces that all across the board. Urban crime. Cities like San Francisco, Chicago, New York, LA, all in huge trouble. They cannot protect their citizens. Public safety has collapsed. All of them are under Democratic leadership. High taxes. Top 5 tax states in the union: California, Hawaii, New York, New Jersey, Oregon, all Democrats. And working men and women are gouged. They have no money. And finally, welfare expansion. Under President Biden, 20 million Americans were added to the welfare rolls, costing $760 billion a year. And that doesn't count the undocumented who were receiving or are receiving welfare payments. Biden was the biggest spending president in history. So you add that all up, and that's why the Democratic Party is not doing well among the American population. Now, what about a turnaround? Well, it's impossible now because there's no leader of the Democratic Party. There's no face. All right. I guess Barack Obama is still the most powerful Democrat, but he's not really actively involved. And there's some governors who are going to run in 28, but nobody knows who they are. Most famous Democrat outside of Barack Obama is probably Ocasio-Cortez or Bernie Sanders. And these are communist people. I mean, So, I'm a Democrat. It's going to be a tough road going forward. Midterms, it's all about Trump in the midterms. Do Americans, are they fed up with him or not? But it looks like, as I said in the opening, that the economy, with these trade deals and all that, so Democrats are not happy. And that is a memo. Joining us now from Denver, Colorado, is Frankie Wilmer. He's a PhD, professor of political science at the University of Colorado, Boulder, which has a lot of liberal people and Democrats. I worked in Denver for a couple of years. I'm well versed at the UC Boulder. So first of all, Doctor, thank you for helping us. And am I making any mistakes?
Not so far, for sure.
So
I have to tell you something, though.
Go ahead.
This is the time we met. Did you mention I was a legislator, right, in elected office for 8 years? I actually bought political ads on your AM radio talk show.
Good. And I hope they helped out. Well, you are a registered Democrat, because I asked my staff, I said, get me a smart Democrat. Get me somebody who's not going to come in here and just throw propaganda my way. So from your perch in the Rocky Mountains now, do you see any hope for your party in the next few years?
Well, you talked about the polls. The polls go up and down. There have been times in the past. You said this is the lowest point for Democrats in
35 years. Yeah.
35 years. And just in 2014, 2013, and 2017, polls showed Republicans at about the same place. So it's even more recently. So, they go up and down. I don't think we've seen the effects of the tariffs whenever they're going to come and go on inflation. We definitely have not seen the impact of the Medicaid cuts, especially to the rural hospitals and health caregivers. And those rural states are mostly red too, by the way. So I think that's going to have an impact. And, we talked about the cratering of support for or favorability for Democrats. Donald Trump's popularity has been cratering as well. I mean, he's at 37, we're at 33, but
he's 46 in the Journal poll.
And the Gallup poll, July 7th through July 20th.
But we know where he is.
We haven't even seen the
right. Okay. All right.
The Gallup poll is pretty reliable. The point is that the Republicans control all three branches. They control both houses and the presidency, and they have more Republican appointed Supreme Court justices.
Well, the only hope you have is if people turn on Trump. But my analysis is, even if that happens, they're not going to vote. They're not going to vote for you guys. They're not going to vote for you guys, because all of the things that I listed are in stone. They happen. So if say there's an independent voters and they make the calls now, and they go, I don't think Trump's doing a good job for whatever reason, some of the reasons that you mentioned, they're not going to go in and pull a lever for Democrats after Biden and Harris and all of these people disappointed everybody so badly. They just won't vote.
Biden's first election and Obama's two elections both polled very positively with independents. And as you know, this same Wall Street Journal poll shows that independents were the biggest chunk of losses for the Republicans, 29% or something down among independents. So yeah, swing voters are where it's at. I actually think part of the problem is that voters, first of all, as you know, politics is mostly emotional, not so rational. It's about how people identify and how they feel about things. And so that can be very different than reality. And that's about getting the message and the messengers to deliver the message in a clear.
But who's the messenger? You don't have a leader. Democratic Party has no leader.
It's not just that. I could go through a list of people. You name some of them. I think they're very articulate.
But nobody knows who they are. There's
Nobody
not
knew
one
who Obama
Democrat
was.
outside of the communist
Until the
faction.
convention, nobody knew who Obama was either. So in the next,
Okay, but we're
as we get
talking.
closer to the election cycle, to the campaign cycle, messengers will emerge.
Who?
They'll,
Who?
uh,
Who?
Buttigieg, Gretchen Whitmer,
Buttigieg? You can't.
Gretchen
The air
Whitmer,
traffic
Andy
controller
Bashir,
situation is
Gavin
desperate.
Newsom. We've got plenty of
Well, Doc.
I like Wes Moore.
Gavin, but nobody
Maryland.
knows who the governor
lot.
Moore. Nobody knows who he is. Gavin Newsom is poison for your party.
It's not
You've got
time
to know that.
It's not time. But I want to make a little bit of a different point on kind of as a political scientist. The voters clearly in the Mamdani, I know you're going to call him a communist. We'll talk about communism later, maybe. But his election in the mayoral primary, Democrat,
Yeah.
and Biden's, Trump's election as president has a really clear message for all of us, which is voters are tired of and they don't want to support candidates who are canned, candidates who are scripted, candidates who are handled.
I agree
And-
with that, but
and
you're
as
getting
those-
you're putting.
those
Remember,
yeah.
Doctor.
As those messengers
Remember Sarah Palin when she got the nomination in Minneapolis, the famous line that she stole, "You're putting lipstick on a pig." All right? So Mamdani is a communist. The guy wants
no,
to
he's a
seize.
democratic socialist, just like everybody.
That's what
else
he
is.
says he is. But then when
Communism-
you read his screeds, he wants to seize control of the private economy, which
No, he
is
doesn't.
yes,
you
that's
know,
what he
you-
said.
I
That's
can't
what he
fact
said.
check him fast enough, but I've listened to him 4 times
I live
Once-
here.
an hour.
You
Good
live
for you.
there. I live
And so do
here.
all the people who
I
voted
know
for
what he says.
All right,
Okay.
so my point, he's
You're-
a socialist Democrat, just like everybody in Scandinavia is a democratic socialist, and they're not communists. It's a
Way
totally
more than that. Way more than that. Now, listen, if you're going to bank on Mamdani to be a positive for the Democratic
No,
Party, you're
I
going to be
said-
sorely
I
disappointed.
said that was the message of his win. We don't
His
want
win was
scripted-
22%.
we want scripted.
Only
The first-
22% of the
My message
Democratic
to you-
registered voters cast a ballot in that primary. That was nothing. It's New York. It's chaos. He's not going to win. He's not going to win the mayoral race. But what they're going to do? Doc-
we can talk about
Doctor.
the mayoral race another time. The point is,
No, we're not. We can talk about it
lesson-
now.
the
The
lesson from
Republicans, Doctor, give me 30, I'll give you 30. Republicans are going to tie a millstone, the Democratic millstone is going to say Democrats right around this guy's neck. Okay? And that's what they're going to do because he's so far out there. But just the fact that you brought him up, and we're talking about him now, shows there isn't one mainstream Democrat, not one, okay, that can spur the message of the Democratic Party. There
I
isn't
guess we'll find
anybody.
out. I like Chris Murphy. I like Wes
Who is
Morgan.
he? Nobody knows him.
Chris Murphy. Gavin Newsom. I like.
Gavin
and
Newsom?
We've had presidents who lost their first run and then won the second term. And presidents 2 times, Cleveland and Trump, won a first term, lost a second, came back for a third. So I don't write off Kamala Harris even.
I got one specific question for you. When Gavin Newsom took over from Jerry Brown in California, the state had a surplus of more than $100 million. They are now $34 billion in debt or something.
And
you like him?
I said I like him. I have to
Why?
fact
You like
check
his hair?
a lot of that.
Come on. Guy's as inefficient as any politician I've ever seen. And Buttigieg is second. You can't even get on a
Back to 2
plane.
things you said, Bill, I'm going to go back to 2 things you said. One is that DEI is about showing favorability for people because of their skin color. That is not what it is.
Equity, that is what equity
that's
is,
what
and that's in
people who wanna-
DEI.
People who want to misinform and mislead the public are saying that, but I worked in that business in civil rights legislation. And
Look up
Title
equity.
4. And what I'm telling
Favoritism to certain groups.
you, there
Look
was
it up.
favoritism for white men for 200 years.
So
So
what?
what's the difference? But
So
this
what?
is not even favoritism. It's
You
simply,
don't correct a historical wrong by instituting another wrong.
I've heard you say that before too, but you know what? You didn't write the Constitution, and still you want the rights that it presents you. So
I want
you've got
everybody to
history.
have an equal
Here's the
opportunity
parts of
to
history
pursue
that you
happiness.
You can't just pick the parts of history that benefit
Look,
you.
come on, doctor.
I'm
You know
gonna give
DEI is
really
deeply
good
unpopular.
sidestep.
You
You're
know it's deeply
misleading people
unpopular.
about what it is. It's unpopular the way it's presented, the way you just said, which is not what it is.
Yes, it
All
is.
No, it
Yes,
isn't.
it is. It's
It's not a mandate, it's
favoritism
not a law, it's
towards
not a
certain
policy, it's nothing.
groups.
No.
Don't give me
If
that.
it's
It is
all things being equal,
favoritism.
recruit a workforce, a qualified workforce that looks like America. It's that simple.
That's
Not
favoring
a
certain
policy.
people based on skin color
It's
and
an
ethnicity.
aspiration, not a policy.
Aspiration is
Title
fine.
VII.
Knocking
No,
people out because they're not the right color isn't, and
That
that's what the
never
Democrats
The
support.
Supreme Court has ruled on this. That's not
Why
what
do you think
DEI is.
DEI is so far down in the polls? Do you realize it's
Because
60,
the narrative portrayed by
65%?
people like you who are giving misinformation to people. And
My
misleading
information,
about
look
what
it up.
is.
Look up
I
equity.
know
Look
what
up the
it is.
definition.
I could read you Title VII, word for word. It prevents employment, fiscal, financial, credit, housing discrimination against protected classes of people.
That's
And if you
fine.
don't- That's fine.
We're talking about hiring and admissions to universities.
That's
You don't do
employment.
that on skin color. And they have been doing it, and
And
you
the
know it.
Supreme Court has said that you don't. The Supreme Court agrees with that. That's
And,
why
and you don't think colleges and employers do that? You
I
don't think
know
Boulder
they
does
don't.
that? Come on.
I don't think they choose a less qualified person because of their skin color. No.
All right. Look, I want to go next time you visit the land of Oz. I want to go with you.
Is this Land of Oz?
I appreciate
playing me
I
back?
appreciate the lively debate, Doctor. Thank you very much. Thank you.